to adjust that contrast. It's a bit bright, isn't it? There we go. There we go. That's better. There we go. Hi, Bee. Of course, you're the first one here. Well, yeah, I can't let someone else take that title. Most loyal streamer. Right, let me find this reference picture then, while we're waiting for the others to arrive. Where did I put it? There it is, I got it. I found it. Right. So given that I ended up doing a Skeksis for stream before, I figured it'd be quite cool just to do a mystic this time. And we've got the Skeksis on this side, but I am going to have to go this way for this one because they've got quite long faces. So. Okay, it's the right pencil. Good. Also, highly recommend these pencils. I think you got some already, but I don't know if it's going to show it. It's the Nick Pros. Oh, it's so metallic. But the 0.9, that's the one I seem to be using for everything at the moment. They're really, really good. I haven't changed a lead in these yet, and I've been using them all the time. I think it came with like 20 leads for each pencil. Yeah, they're great. They're great. Right, let's try and at least get the outline done for this one, shall we? I don't know whether to do the whole thing or whether to do it now. No, let's go a bit more central than that. Plus the erasers on the top are really, really good. I think we're just going to do mainly face. So, God, it's been such a long time since I've seen this movie. Need to watch it again. I need to show you this. Wait, did you watch the TV series? I can't remember. Oh, and then he's bringing you tea or demanding tea? That seems to be auto-adjusting a lot. Let me just fix this a bit, make it a wee bit lighter. Right, that should stop it doing it now. Hopefully. Still very new to this, but we'll see. I think it's because I'm moving with the pencil and everything. It's trying to readjust every time I do, so apologies. We will figure it out eventually. I think his nose needs to be a wee bit longer than that. Just a little bit. That's better. You've got such droopy eyes. That's better. Oh no. Well, you got to make sure you get the right one. Otherwise it's potentially disastrous. So oh, this is where it's going to get tricky. There's so many patterns. Zoom in a bit so I can actually see what the heck I'm doing. Hi, Sally. Welcome to the stream. I'm going to put you two on welcoming duty, just in case. I mean, thankfully I can see the chat quite easily here, but... I love how wrinkly these guys are. So if it's one thing Henson did well, it was wrinkly puppets. That sounds really weird out of context. So how is everyone this evening? Hope you're good. Yes, I mean, luckily, these candles, both these candles are running really, really low. But thankfully, we did make some new ones the other day, and I've got a few of the pillar candles left still. But I'm going to have to refill this one at some point, because that's going down very, very quickly, probably because it's got 3 wicks in it. But I do like the crackle it makes. I just realised the time difference for these streams for you, B. I'm sorry. Just had to find a more manageable time. Well, this is why I'm trying to keep to, for now, just keep to doing sketchbook artwork, because it's not massive that way. It's actually a much more manageable illustration to do in the time. It means that I'm not here for hours and hours and hours on end, which is good for everybody, I think. It can just be a stream that people can have on in the background or whatever. That's absolutely fine too. It means I get to do some traditional work, which is lovely, because most of my commission work that I do is digital now. So it's nice just to get the pencils and the inks and stuff out and just use this time to do some traditional artwork. Oh, my throat's still a bit sore. Hang on, guys, just need to have some tea. Oh, you should. I feel, even though I do mostly traditional as in it's on the iPad, a lot of the techniques I use are still ones that are stemmed from the stuff I learned doing traditional. And because I was a traditional artist first, obviously, as I suppose many of us are, it's, you know, I can switch between the two quite easily. The one problem I do have, that if I spend a long time away from traditional, is that, and I'm doing on the iPad, I'll occasionally do this. Or I'll try and move stuff along, or I'll tap things, and it's just like, that's not going to work. You need to use this. Yeah, I mean, I didn't for a while. Once I had my iPad, I was doing a lot of traditional stuff, but because it wasn't up to the same standard as when I was doing traditional, I did keep a couple of watercolors back and pencils, pens, things like that. But that slowly went down over the years. Now I'm trying to get that back a bit because I do enjoy it and I do love it, and I find it a nice way to unwind. And it's being away from a blue screen as well. You know, I mean, I'm looking at the chat on a blue screen, but actually doing this by candlelight it's a really nice change, and I can just draw what I fancy drawing, you know. It doesn't have to be right or wrong, it can just be whatever it wants to be. And it doesn't have to be for anything, it doesn't have to be for sale, it doesn't have to be, you know, for some grand exhibition or anything. It can just be art, being art for art's sake, which is what I really love about it. Right, that's the pencil work done, I think. Look at his face, look at his lovely face. Oh, well, with the, there's going to be a lot of shading on this one, so if it does look flat, keep an eye on what I'm doing, and I'll talk you through it as well with traditional stuff, just to give an idea. It's very, very, very close to what you do in digital. Obviously, you don't have the luxury of doing layers and, you know, completely removing a layer. If you're not happy with it, you kind of have to stick with it. But that's why I always do a pencil sketch first, if it's something that I want to look good. So when I'm doing this one, I'm going to be using the oak gall ink that I've got, which is that one. If it's going to focus on it, go on. You can do it. I believe in you. No. Oh, well, that's close enough. You can see what it looks like. This stuff, I know I've mentioned it before, but I will mention it again. It's really nice. It's quite translucent, which means you can get some nice dark tones to it, but you can also get some nice gentle brown washes and almost like a coffee stain effect across it. And once it's dry on one side, you can then go over it again, creating even bigger depths of colour, which is really, really nice. So that's really handy if you're going to be doing a lot of shading, either monochrome or with very few colours, is get something that's quite translucent that can be layered up. That's one of my key bits of advice. Instead of going straight in with something like acrylic or something which can be layered, but the effects are a lot stronger. And things like acrylic and other paints tend to be quite opaque as well. it's the translucency that you're looking for. Right, let's start off with this little eye. It sounds like my candle is crying. That's a little creepy. One of the wicks is squeaking and it sounds like someone's crying. That's not spooky at all. Right. One thing I always recommend is that if you are doing traditional, and especially if you're doing ink work, and you want those really nice depths of shading, and you want it to look three-dimensional, is do the darkest stuff first. So the stuff that is really, really pronounced, like the little indent that we've got in between the eyes, that's always quite dark. That's where the shadows always fall. The inner part of the eyes, especially if you've got a dark eye on there, anything like that, deep wrinkles, things like that, just do those first. Make sure that's the first thing that you do, and it will help you a great deal later down the line. I'll have to crack out the watercolours at some point as well and do some examples with those. I've got a lovely set of watercolours. It was a limited edition pan set that I never know how to pronounce it. Artesia did. But unfortunately, being a limited edition, they don't do replacement half pans for it, which is frustrating because the colours are really nice. So I'll just have to replace with other brands instead. But never mind. But yes, maybe next stream I'll do some colour work as well for you guys. And show how to get some nice... I keep almost dipping this nib into my tea. Yeah, and show you some nice colour work and stuff, and how best to implement traditional colours for a decent effect. Yeah. Do you see what I mean though? Already, even though I'm just doing the deep lines, you've already got that depth there because it's showing the most pronounced areas. So this will help later when we shade in with a brush. Because even with new ink going over it, it'll still keep those darker tones underneath and it'll intensify them. I'm just going to turn this music up a little bit. It's a wee bit quiet for me. I'm the one yakking, so that's probably why it's so quiet. To be fair. Oh, my lovely PC noises as well. That's all good. But there we go. Right. I know a lot of people who started off on digital and then try and go back to traditional, or have been on digital so long they've almost forget how to go back to traditional. It does seem a bit scary at first, but you'll get there. And it soon comes back. It's like riding a bike, you never really forget, especially when you've applied yourself and you've learned all these different techniques. It just becomes automatic after a while. I'm just doing some hatching in between as well. Sometimes hatching's a bit kinder than doing one line over and over, because you can get ink pooling, and sometimes you can go through the paper if you haven't got thick enough paper. I mean, this sketchbook's pretty good, but I'm pretty sure it has its limits as well. So I do have some lovely watercolour paper on the way, which I'm hoping to use for streams. It's 300 GSM, so it's incredibly thick. There's only they come in pads, like sketchbook pads, and I think there's only 12 pages to each one, to give you an idea of how thick they are. There we go. Let's have a look. Oh, you got some really deep lines going on through here. Okay. This is where the cross hatching comes in handy, when you've got really thick dark places. Maybe this bit here. Yeah, wasn't intending for this to be a tutorial video by any means, but I hope the hints do help. Hints. That sounds like I'm doing some sort of maze or something. Tips. Tips is the word I was looking for. This is the dark crystal, not the crystal maze. Labs. like this music is quite Dark Crystal-like as well. Certainly reminds me of the Mystics. And go the fireworks again. Mind you, to be fair, it is the 5th of November, which is Guy Fawkes Night. I don't know if you guys have that where you are. Probably not. Probably just have bonfire night. If that. Remember, remember the 5th of November. Gunpowder, treason, and plot. Same. I'm not a massive fan of them, to be honest. They're very pretty to look at. I just hate the impact that they have on the wildlife and animals and things like that. You know, the ones that you can't warn that it's going to happen. Well, I know we've got some war vets and war survivors here as well, so it just seems inconsiderate to essentially start letting off explosives without any given notice. It's just, yeah, I don't know. Not a fan of fireworks myself. What was it we learned about that had the really strange customs, like no fireworks are allowed throughout the year, except on New Year's Day, and then they all go completely berserk and over the top, and the whole country just turns into a war zone. The Netherlands, I think it was. But yeah, you're not allowed fireworks for the whole year, and then on this one time of the year, it's no holds barred and fireworks all the time. Yeah. I don't think we have any restrictions throughout the year for people to buy fireworks. They're just easier to get hold of this time of year. But I think they're available year round. Some people set them off here for like birthdays and special events and things, weddings and such. Really? Wow. Must be a similar policy then. You can't blow things up 364 days of the year, but this day, how about it? Oh, got some paper residue on my pencil. Don't want that. So she dip pen, you ninny. Right, quick cup of tea. We'll remember to drink it this time. Let me catch up with this chat as well. We're quiet tonight. We usually have more than this. Why is it every time I remember to advertise the stream, that's when it goes quietest? You can guarantee it. I swear advertising has like the opposite effect. It's fine. People who can't make it, I'll save it and put it up so they can watch it later. It's no skin off my nose. Oh, I'm so sniffy still. Where did my reference go? I didn't actually draw that bit in. Whoops. Okay, well, it's alright. We can improvise. We can improvise. That's fine. I am giving myself a bit of artistic license with the patterns on this. I'm not going to do them exact, because none of the mystics are exact. Same as the Skeksis. They're all different in their own way. And this wrinkly boy's a cutie. Look at him. That's such a sad little face. He looks like he could do with a nice cup of tea, is what he looks like he could do with. Right, there we go. There's the deeper lines done for that part. You see what I mean? Already we've got depth because we've filled out the darkest parts, which is automatically given us the impression of there is a light source somewhere. So what we'll do while that's drying is we'll do the hair. I don't know if I'd call this hair or fuzz or fur. It looks fluffy and I want to pet it, is all I know. With this, again, using the same dip pen nib, but with this I was really saturating the nib with ink and pressing quite deep into the paper. With hair, it's a lot lighter. I want it to give it that very light texture, so I'm barely touching the paper when I do it, so it's a lot scratchier. So, and lots of little lines as opposed to deep carving lines. And by letting the ink basically run out on the dip pen, you get some really nice variations of light as well, which you get naturally in hair anyway. So it does help. It stops you wasting ink and it gives you a nice texture to the hair that you're doing. This applies for fur as well. Same technique. You see him barely touching it, just kind of wisping it. And that's when you get those really loud, scratchy noises. So apologies if anyone is not a fan of the scratchy noises. This is probably the wrong channel for you if it is something you struggle with, because there's going to be a lot of it. ink is my primary traditional medium, so. I mean, they wouldn't be wrong, let's be honest. No. To anyone who is watching this and thinking that, oh god, it's a Psycho fan, actually a very, very, very good friend of mine. So for this bit, I'm just doing a little braid going down. It's kind of a mix of both these techniques. As I'm doing the outside of the braid, I'm keeping it quite light, but then as I'm coming to the center of the braid, I'm going back into what I did with this line work here and push down a little harder and be a bit stronger with my line. And that gives the idea of the depth of the hair curling in on itself. If you have a pressure sensitive tablet that you work with, and pencil or stylus, whatever you use, that can also be used in the same way, same techniques. Most of these techniques can be translated quite easily to digital, which is why I think I managed to adapt quite quickly. And then we're back to the wispy, scratchy lines for the end of the braid. Seeing jury's out on Sally, we just don't know yet. I am of course joking. You're all lovely, and I'm glad that you joined me for these. Whether that be whether you join me live for them or you watch it later on. I love you all equally. Wholesome is what we are striving for here, B. You know that. I don't know what you mean. What do you mean then you get to Wabi's writing? What are you talking about? My writing is nothing but wholesome and nothing bad ever happens. Ever. Everything I do for the plot. That's all I'm going to say. It's for the plot. Exactly. You wouldn't want bland, one-dimensional characters with no growth, would you? That would just be dull. Where would be the fun in that? That's one way of putting it. I made this boy a lot curlier than he needed to be. Those wavy beach locks that he's got. And a little braid. More than likely. Right, let's just do this last bit of hair along the top here. You guys see what I'm doing, alright? There we go. Oh, nearly again. Right, that teacup is empty now. I'm going to move it before I stick my pen in it again. It's going to be so much worse when I'm doing watercolours on stream. The amount of accidental, not tea, definitely paint water I'm going to be drinking. See, look, a cute... Put it away. Put it away. Let's get rid of it. There you go. Can't do it anymore, can you? No. There we go. Right. Give that just a wee moment, just dry off slightly. And then we're going to finish off with just a little bit of brushwork. Oh, that's what I was going to show you. One of the inks that I got today is a lovely one. It's from this guy, Tom Studio. I kept constantly seeing adverts for them on Instagram, so I thought, oh, you know what, screw it, I'll just get some and try it. He actually makes a lot of pens, like he makes dip pens, fountain pens, but his focus is on refillability. So all of his pens, they don't use like plastic cartridges or anything. They use refillable. They're like fiber tips, almost like felt tip pens. So it's refillable fine liners, which I think is amazing because how many fine liners do we go through as artists? Anyway, this is not a free promotion for him, so he's not getting it. Anyway, I haven't tried this yet, but I'll probably try it in the next couple of streams. It looks like a really nice, rich black ink, and the bottle is lovely. So this is their deep black. It's meant to be for fountain pens, so I'm hoping that I'm going to use it with my new fountain pen, because I tried the walnut and the oak gall ink in it, and it barely comes out. Look, I'll show you just while that's drying. I think it's just a bit too watery for it to be able to saturate, so let's just do a quick... See? I mean, you can probably not even see that. It's so pale. And it really struggles to come out, so I thought, okay, I'll get some proper fountain pen ink, which is what this is. So hopefully I'll be able to use this on stream as well at some point, instead of just dip pens. Because I want to show a bit of variety. That brush is far too big for what I want. Oh yeah, it's a little one. But yes, so I will do a proper review on that ink at some point, once I've had a good go with it. Right, so next stage, this is where the translucency of the ink comes in really, really handy. So with this, because it's translucent ink and it's quite thin, the moment it goes from a really fine tip where it's concentrated, where you get all these lovely lines, as soon as it goes onto a brush, that brush absorbs it ever so slightly and spreads it so it becomes paler almost. So that's why we use a nice semi-translucent ink. Another good tip there. So I'm going to pretty much saturate this so it looks pretty much like that. I always give them a little tap so we don't get any excess. And then what I'm going to do is, where you've got the really deep lines, I'm going to run it along them, so actually touching them. Because when you do, it causes the shading to really start to pop. And you've got that secondary layer of shading then. Always follow the directions of the lines that you've made. So if one's going up that way, don't shade it that way. Obviously, it'll just look very, very strange. So within here, always follow the lines and follow the directions of the lines. And the reason we tap it when we refill, I try to do it 4 times, it's just a force of habit now. It just means that there's no excess ink, so you don't suddenly get massive pools of ink everywhere. So work along those darker lines. Just be a little more careful around the light lines. The really fine ones, just be a bit lighter with your brush on those, because you don't want to drown them out. So you see, by following that, because it's broader than the nib, it creates almost that grey halo around the darkest line, which immediately gives you more shading, more depth. So it makes it a lot more three-dimensional, and it's giving you automatic highlights. You don't even have to do the highlights. You're just working from dark to light, much as you would with a lot of things. I mean, by all means, there are many techniques out there for doing this. This is just the one that I use and I find that works the best. And it's one that's quite forgiving as well. You know, it does hold your hand as it goes through while you practice. It's quite a kind technique, especially to people who are new to using inks or paints. Now where we've got these ones that are a little bit deeper, again, using the same direction, but just be a bit lighter and more and dab it rather than pull the brush along. So here as well, I'm just dabbing the ink along there, as opposed to doing a long drag like you do with the line work. It just makes for a more organic shape and a greater depth of shade. So there's another one here. So we're just going to dab it. And a little bit would come out here. And then we've got the long lines again. And then as you come along to an area that's going to have quite a bit more shade, so this, like sort of the muzzle comes up above this lip here, so this, the underbite would be probably quite partially shaded by that. If we're assuming that the light's coming from here, which naturally, if you look at the highlights, that seems to be where it's coming from. That's where it's coming from in the picture anyway. So with that, I'm going to do gentle dabs across the entire section, just to give that impression of shade. This is the one time you can go against the move with the lines, as if you're doing like a wash of shade like this. And then areas like the cheekbone, where there would be quite a lot of depth there, we're going to do the same again. So just doing a little bit of shade. And you can see now where the translucency comes in handy, because those lines underneath are still there, and they're getting deeper as the layers are being piled on. So it does help a great deal. I always like to put a bit of shade just where the hairline is, just to give the impression that the hair is just hanging over the scalp like that. Those lines again. Yeah, see? So we've already got like a really nice sense of depth here. Now as the light's coming from this direction, I feel there would be a bit more shading just over here, so we're just going to add a bit more. And add a bit more to that eye. Okay. There, so that's his face, all done. So you can see how it's made those natural highlights as well by moving along the lines and doing that gradient from dark to light. It's created these natural highlights. Now when it comes to the hair, we're basically going to find the places where the hair meets another sort of section of hair. You can see it's in different sections. And in between those sections is just where we're going to apply some shade. So there's a bit there. And see there's a bit down here as well. So I'm going to stick a bit in there as well. And this is just going to, again, give the hair more depth. So that's another section where I meet. Now, this will probably be easier to see on your own artwork as you work your hair in sections, which I always recommend because it does make life a lot easier for you and makes the hair look a bit more organic. Just enough to vibe there. It's almost like a horse's mane, this one. Okay. There we are. And this was all done with a dip pen, pencil, a brush, and a single pot of ink. So you don't need a lot to get yourself started. If you do decide that you want to experiment with traditional art. Yeah, don't have to have a whole studio set up. There we go. Well, I think that's our mystic all done. He looks so cute. Look at him. So yeah, I hope that helped. I hope there was a couple of techniques there that you found really useful. Next stream on, what day is it? Tuesday, Friday. I'll be doing some watercolor work. I'm probably be doing some wildlife art as well. That's something that people have been asking about a lot, doing fur, feathers, and things like that. So I will take a look and pick out what I can think is the best example to show some of that off. And I'll try and, yeah, if you've got any suggestions, let me know of what you'd like me to see me draw next. Apart from that, I'm going to let this guy dry, get another cup of tea, and relax for the evening. So thank you so much. We've been in an hour, guys. So thank you so much for putting up with me for an hour. But we got a nice bit of sketchbook art out of it. So, and hopefully some tips for you guys as well. So I hope it did help. So thanks so much for coming along, guys. And I will catch up with you on Friday. See you then.